Welcome to another edition of Living Simply and Fun. Today we will be reviewing
The H. Upmann Habana Cuba Coronas Minor. And at first, I was having a real hard time authenticating this cigar. Reason for that is there is a solid silver tube with a very ornate cap to the tube from H. Upmann for the Coronas Minor. However, this is also a proper tube for the Coronas Minor, according to various different websites, even though most of the ones who are selling these have the silver tube with the ornate cap. I don't know how better to describe that, but it says Habana down the side.
Could be last year's models, too.
Yeah, and I know that these came from, I think it was actually, I don't know where they came from.
Our business.
Yeah.
We're just reviewing them
anyways, this is a proper tube, and the wrapper and everything line up with what we've seen, so I'm pretty positive in saying that this is authentic. It is from Habana, Cuba, and it's from the H. Upmann, and I was really excited to try this because I've heard so much about the H. Upmann Company. I did some research into it at one point when we were doing the banker, and it's been really exciting to want to try these, and I do believe it is the H. Upmann.
Sorry about that. That was my editing job for the last video. So.
I do believe that the H. Upmann Corona Minor may have been the cigar that JFK smoked. I know it was an H. Upmann, and I know it was a mini size. I do believe it was the mini Corona. So, with that, I'll show you the cigar. There is some minor damage to it, but there you go. You can kind of see it there. Rita's is also kind of cracked at the end. I tried to use a hole punch on this, but it was actually too small of a cigar to put a hole punch in. And because the hole punch was beginning to crack it, so I just did a very light cut on it and hope that works. What are you doing with that? We should be reviewing.
I'm looking at that, but you're doing the talking right now.
Well, so it's time to do the scent and light up.
Sure. I was just curious, for some of you wondering why I'm flipping through this, about the Cigar International on the Banker. It is a good cigar, but it's highly expensive.
It does fit in the pocket very nicely.
And Aaron loves the little tins, by the way. He collects those little tins.
I do collect the tubos because you never know when you're going to have a cigar that might fit in that size. It doesn't, even though I never buy this small size. It is, also, it's a collector's item, too, in my opinion. Shows where you've been. However, I always try to look forward.
So, yeah, exactly. I was going to tell you all, one of the tins that looked good for me to purchase, but the price is kind of expensive, is it's like $90. You get 7 Cohiba Commodore cigars,
which don't seem to have very good reviews. But, anyways, as for the scents, off the wrapper I get nothing. And off the foot, I also get nothing, but from the head, I'm kind of picking up the light hay smell, or oat.
I'm only picking up on both ends hay.
I would say oat, but
to each their own on the palates.
So, anyways, fire these up.
Isn't these the size that Colonel Smith smoked in the A-Team?
I don't know what size Smith smoked.
George Peppard.
As I said, I think the claim to fame for this cigar is it's Kennedy's favorite. The one that he bought 1,700 boxes of or something. The night before the embargo went into effect.
For the record, he said he thinks Kennedy.
Well, I didn't look it up to find out for sure, but I'm positive it was an H. Upmann in a small size. And we've looked it up before. It's been in other videos of ours that we've done. Unique flavor to it.
A friend of mine, Mike, who's a minister, as we both are, good friend of mine, says when he was getting Cubans, he'd get these little ones because they were just full of flavor. Now, if you're watching this, Mike, let's just say this is a unique flavor.
Very toasty, for lack of a better word. It tastes like something that's been toasted.
Got a creamy butteriness, in my opinion.
I don't notice that. I've not picked up the buttery flavor, but it
For
is.
all of you out there, again, everyone's palate is a little different.
I guess the flavor so far is just like toasted oats. The type that you would get on top of like an apple cobbler or something like that, where you got the oats in it. If you just ate the oats alone, it kind of has that flavor. Slightly. Not the sweet of the apples, though.
I want to do a shout out to Rhonda Girl. She is always curious about our cigar review, so yo, girl.
Yeah, there's kind of a peanutty flavor, too. Kind of like roasted peanuts and oats.
No, I disagree. It's a buttery macadamia flavor. Roasted macadamia nuts.
Two different people, two different tastes right here in the same room. It happens.
As Forrest Gump would say, crap happens.
So I suppose we will see you at about the halfway point.
Yes. Halfway it is. Welcome back to another, the halfway point to Living Simply and Fun. I'm your host, Rita, and this is Aaron.
We are half an hour into this Coronas Minor from H. Upmann. We did do some research during our break. These are the evolution of, thank you for remembering my word, the evolution of the JFK favorite, which was Petite Corona from H. Upmann. And we were talking about the silver tube also. The silver tube is on those that are circa. This is a newer tube. I don't know why they replaced the tube, because this actually does not look as nice.
Because they don't want to charge $4.50 a stick, Aaron.
Well, there's another feeling too. The trade embargo has kept Cuba from getting various materials like certain metals and stuff. And this is a cheaper, flimsier metal than what it looks like they were making things out of, which was, you know, probably a fancier tube at that time. Anyways, they had to downgrade the tubes, basically. So if you end up seeing pictures of the silver one, more than likely you're finding pre-embargo Cubans, which are very, very, well, I want to try one. And those have been
HMS Gurkha.
The pre-embargo have been legal in the United States for a very long time, but they're very hard to get a hold of, and they hold a like $400 price tag per stick. It might have been $200.
No, it's $400 and $450 for a stick.
So if you want to get one pre-embargo, it's $450, but for a tiny stick like that,
$7.
I can't see ever paying $450 for one stick. There are a few that have grabbed my attention, and I would love to try a pre-embargo because it's close to what Kennedy smoked, but it's not feasible for me ever.
For example, I'd like to try an HMS Gurkha. Last year it was $4.50 a stick. This year it's $7.50 a stick.
I think, in my opinion, if I was going to put out a ton of money for one cigar like that, to me it'd be the Daniel Marshall DM2, the gold one.
And that's like $2.50 a
smokable gold, where you end up getting a souvenir when you're done. That's like gnarly gold ash, and you just clean all the ash off of it. that would be kind of cool because I'd always have a souvenir of that $200 smoke. But I don't see ever buying one of them either. And I doubt that's one I'll ever see gifted to me. But it'd be so nice.
Don't even
Wink,
think
wink, nudge,
about
nudge.
it.
She can't afford it either.
I'd rather be spending $200 for two boxes of cigars, or even 3 compared to one Daniel Marshall cigar. But that's just my opinion. But
same here. And another thing that I'm going to say about the cigar, getting to the cigar again, is that one thing I'm really liking about this cigar is the buckets of smoke and the very nice ease of draw and the nearly flawless burn on this. I'm really enjoying this. I'm still getting kind of toasty flavors, some oily flavors. Rita said buttery, but it's more oily. It just kind of feels slick, but not, I don't know, maybe like canola oil or something. It's still got that kind of toasty flavor of like toasted oats. So it's a beautiful flavored cigar so far. You got any thoughts?
Yes, I find the cigar to be very good. I've had only one light little construction, or not construction, but problem with it. But otherwise, it's been burning flawlessly with no fixes. And in my opinion, this cigar is just a really, really good cigar. And you know, the price tag for it we found was about $7, but these were gifted to us from some good friends who emailed, as you all need to know, and sent us a bunch of Cubans and said, we don't care if you tell us who gave them to you, but we want you to review them.
And there are some kind of borderline legality issues on Cubans still. They are legal to bring into the country in certain dollar amounts. And
he should know he's Mr. Legal when it comes to legalities and legalese.
So I think $100 is what's allowed, but sometimes they'll allow more in, depending. You know, it all is based on customs, whether they think it's a Cuban or not. If you claim that it's not, and then they find out that it is. So I don't want to say anything to end up getting our friends in trouble or anything like that. I don't think they did anything illegal anyways, but they know who they are, and we thank them greatly. Heck, we really thank them greatly, because how else would we get to try Cubans? We don't go out of the country, and so we can't even pay the $100 to buy $100 worth and bring them into the country. I guess we could go over the Canadian border. We're not terribly far from it, but it'd still be.
Are they true Cubans?
And I
mean, for all of you out there, the ones that are watching this video, the ones that gave us these cigars, I'm not saying the authenticity of these cigars are Cubans. We've already verified they are.
Yeah, we know they are.
I'm talking about the Canadian ones that are
And if you believe that they're not, that's your problem. It doesn't really matter. But I know from when I went to Canada years ago, there are fakes everywhere along the American border to fool Americans into them. I thought I'd gotten some Cubans at one point, and I was so happy. I was like, oh yeah, I got a Cuban. My friends were like, oh, give me a puff of that. I've never smoked a Cuban. Well, it probably wasn't a Cuban. It was sold in a gas station, for one.
I got a friend of mine that has a wife that's Canadian. He goes up there all the time. He buys Cubans, but he usually smokes the Cohiba Cubans, and he's always bragging of the price of them. But are they true Cohiba Cubans?
Well, that same friend is the one who ended up sending us some Monte Cristo No. 2s that were fake. So.
No, I'm talking about... That's the other friend. The one who owns the cigar shop. I'm talking about old Bud Man.
Yes.
And his wife, who's Canadian.
And another legality issue, too, is that if you bring Cubans into the country, you cannot sell them. That is one of the rules, I believe, if you do have Cubans. And because, in the case of the friend that sent us the fake ones, and in the case of our friends that sent us very, very real ones, in both cases, they're semi or are connected to a cigar shop, and somebody might get the idea that they were bought from the cigar shop, and it could end up causing the cigar shop to get in trouble, and they'd have to prove they didn't sell them, and it'd be a royal mess. So just to avoid that issue, it's not really illegal for us to have them or smoke them, as long as we don't sell them, and we're not selling them. So heck,
They
we
think
we couldn't even get them if it wasn't for
excuse me,
friends.
I just want to say to the boys and girls and everyone else who sends us cigars, if you think these are, we're selling these, then I'll sell you all the Cuban ash that's in my little jar, because you can have all the ash.
I wouldn't do that. And besides, it's mixed in with other ashes. We haven't saved Cuban ash separately for any reason. It doesn't make sense to do.
So let them figure it out. Through it.
But of course, if you have a cigar in particular you'd like us to review, you can always send us 2 of them so that we can review, because we won't do a review if we're not both in it smoking the same thing. We've done that a couple times where we didn't have money, and I end up reviewing the Rocky Patel Edge A10, and she reviewed a different cigar, and she's kind of jealous because she didn't get to try the A10, so now she wants to go back and try the A10, and so, you know, that doesn't exactly work out for us. But, you know, anyways, we'll get back to you in the final third of this, and see you then.
Welcome back to the final third of this little teeny weeny baby cigar, which in my opinion is not really a baby cigar.
Seeing that we're only 4 minutes away from 1 hour into this.
I just want to say, for the record, this cigar smokes better than that crappy Cohiba Red Dot we reviewed recently for 45 minutes, was it?
Yeah, give the size. That was a Robusto. This is a Coronas Minor. Which I think was like 4 inches by a 46 ring gauge or a 44 ring gauge, which is pretty small. I didn't pay attention to the sizes on this, and I should have, but I do know that this is the proper size. I did check that, and all the dimensions seemed right. I just don't remember. But this, so far, has been a fabulous smoke. In fact, this is the first time I've had any unevenness in it, and that's nothing, honestly, for unevenness. However, at this stage, that's the beginning of tunneling, I think. But at least it tends to work that way for me. What I will say about the cigar is the toasty flavors definitely continue, those toasty oats. There seems to be some slight spice to it, maybe a little bit of mint, slight peppery. The flavors in this are incredible. There is a lot of flavor in this cigar. The ease of smoke, it's got a very, very long finish. It's part of why I'm able to smoke it so slow. It's because I don't feel the need to just keep puffing, and this one says it's a slow puffer. It doesn't require a lot of attention. $7 stick and Cuban too. I'm going to have to go ahead and give this a rating of, I'd say, a 10. And as a cigar goes, you know, amongst all cigars, it's definitely a 10 as well. So if you get a chance to buy one of these at $7, even though it's a small stick, I highly recommend it. I don't think you'd feel like you went wrong with it.
I do want to say, for the record, I agree with Aaron completely. It is a 10. It's a complex cigar. It's just full of flavor. There is spice. There is a creamy butteriness, in my opinion, light pepper. And I do want to say I'm picking up a little bit of hints of parsley in this cigar. But everyone's palate is a little different.
Well, the parsley mintish is probably about the same. They're related plants anyways. The buttery, I consider oily. I forgot to mention that. That's still here too. This is a very complex cigar, and the amount of flavors that you'll identify, or think you identify at least. And so this might be one of the better cigars I've actually honestly ever smoked. And I usually like much bigger cigars. So this was kind of a disappointment when I first saw it. I was like, oh, I want an H. Upmann, but this one's so tiny. No, this one is a blast. I'm loving this cigar.
For the record, also, during our cigar smoking and me and Aaron's talking to Rhonda about sandwiches and stuff, I wanted to say, I did tell Aaron outright that, and he can confirm this, is when you get a cigar like the Robusto Red Dot Cohiba, as I said, it smoked fast and it was packed very light. This thing here is packed to the gill and tight, so it's burning a lot slower and it's more of
But it's not so tight that it doesn't have draw. It's tight enough that the burn is perfect, but and that you get buckets of smoke. But this thing is not packed so tight that you can't get a hit on it either. We've had cigars like that, and no matter what you do to open them up, you stick a reamer up in there, you have a problem with tracting the reamer because the tobacco is so tight it tries to squeeze around it. This is perfect.
It is getting hot at the end, but you know what? For the price and for what it is a damn good cigar. I give it an overall complete 10.
And while you've been watching us talk in the final third here, we have now surpassed 1 hour. It's 1 hour, 1 minute now. So...
And I did want to say, for the record, as you know, me and Aaron were talking earlier in our previous video about cigars, and we said some of these people, me and Aaron, get irked when they do a cigar like a Robusto and they're done in 30 minutes.
I finally have an error. My wrapper just popped. But, like, I can care when it's this size, okay? I can't nitpick that.
So, as I was saying, me and Aaron, we get irked when we see people sit there and they take a cigar like a Robusto or a Churchill or a Torpedo
and smoke
in like 30 minutes, and then people would smoke these, power puff it, and say, oh, well,
it took me 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
I could see somebody doing that, and I couldn't even enjoy it if I tried to smoke it that fast. That's something I would have done as a kid to see how quick I could have smoked one.
I power puffed a 10x66 the first time through. It took 5 hours. The second time, after I adapted and bought an 8-pack, it took me 3.5 hours. Aaron's dad, after 9 hours, turned green as green can be.
I mean, I still remember when I was a kid sitting on my friend's trampoline in his backyard, and I literally drew on a cigarette until the entire thing was ash without inhaling. Then I attempted to inhale, and I just vomited everywhere. But at least I did it. But that's a bad challenge to attempt to do. I wouldn't recommend anybody ever do that. And I think people should slow down with their cigars sometimes.
Exactly. Cigars are meant to enjoy, relax, and cherish them, not power puff them, toss them away. I just got a question for Aaron, cigar related. They say that in his lifetime, Winston Churchill smoked 300,000 cigars. Does that mean he was power puffing him and tossing him out?
They have some of his nubs that you can... I've actually seen where they've sold nubs of his for like $500 to $1,000. And the cigar butts are like that long. So he'd smoke like half a cigar and toss them. And he also seemed to be one of those to just let it run everywhere while he was smoking it. So he may have liked his cigars, but I don't think he honestly knew how to smoke a cigar either. But, you know, in our lifetime so far, we've smoked for 3 years now, almost daily. That's over 1,000 cigars each. And we've probably smoked 1,500 cigars, probably to 2,000 cigars each in 3 years.
That's total, but when I started and I was buying cheap bundles, I probably smoked close to $1,500 cigars in bundles until I stopped.
But it's not about how many you smoke.
No.
It's about the quality in some ways. And the cheap ones I buy are pretty decent quality as well. So I can't complain about that. When we were doing like Thompson's cheapos, those are cheap. Those are like 50-cent sticks being sold for $1. Same with Cigar International's like dollar sticks. They're not very good. But there are some out there that are very good for the price.
For $1.33
well,
stick.
For that instance, like the Amati, even though last night I had one that decided it was going to balloon on me, and the end was like puffed up from a 50 ring gauge to like a 55 to 60 ring gauge. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck's going on with this? The wrapper split like all the way down, and every time I tried to fix it, it just pop again. And so
I wish my boobs would balloon naturally.
Of course.
And then he talks about torpedo cans. Anyways, I try to be humorous at times, so don't mind me.
But yeah, this cigar, solid 10. I'd call it a perfect 10, to be honest.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. Perfect 10.
So, thanks for
tuning in. Please add, subscribe. Please post comments, leave feedback, suggestion. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.